Hello, my friends. Okay, so this is the planetary weather report for Libra rising. You could listen for if you're a Libra sun or Libra moon, but I suggest people use this for Libra rising, your rising sign, because it's going to be a lot more accurate. And this is for July 19th through 25th, but we're going to focus on the middle of the week when more stuff is happening and it's more highlighted. So basically, Jupiter in Pisces is kind of having its last hurrah with Venus, and that's going to be great and amazing. And then we're getting a full moon in Aquarius on Friday. So what does that mean for you? Okay. So Libra rising, so Jupiter has been in your sixth house of health and healing, possibly hard work or service that you do. It might not be your job or your career, but it's stuff that you maybe have to do in the world, like cleaning out a storage or service that you do that is unpaid or something like that. It's also possibly about people who work under you or small animals like pets. So something in the, I know that sounds like too many things, but that's what the sixth house is. It's health, healing, usually service or hard work. And then it can be the pets or people who work under you. So Jupiter in that place for you, what does that mean? Jupiter is the planet, it's the god of expansion and bigness and more, and possibilities and options and optimism, and just seeing a bigger lay of the land, and having just having more possibilities with everything, and giving you abundance and luck. It's like great. And so Jupiter, when a planet goes into throughout the zodiac, it goes through different signs. It's more suited to a sign or less suited. So Jupiter in Pisces is like his favorite, one of his favorite places, because it's one of his homes. So he has all of his tools, all of his everything at his disposal to do his Jupiter work. So it's like perfect. Like Jupiter in Pisces, he's really good. It's yeah. So. And Jupiter has been in that place for you in that sixth house of health, healing, maybe pets, people who work under you, and hard work or like serious service, for a couple of months. I would say, I think it was middle of May. So it's been a few months here, and you should probably see things maybe changing or expanding in that area. I'm a Libra rising actually. Just like random things, like here's an example, like how would Jupiter in Pisces, like a place of compassion and having faith or something, how would Jupiter make something bigger or more or add abundance to sixth house matters? Like right when that happened, I kind of against my will, it wasn't against my will, but I go to a chiropractor and then they're like, oh, we changed our whole thing now, so you can't pay for one visit. You have to pay for like 6 visits in advance. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But I did. And it was kind of cool to just be like, well, that's kind of cool. I just gave this money. So now I have like 6 of these chiropractic visits paid in advance. It's kind of like forcing me to use it. Like the area of health and healing has now been spotlighted and made more. I also, I'll just stop there. But there's many, well, I'll go on. With the hard work and service, I started getting more serious about how can we make this interesting and more opportunities and more positive thinking in the realm of, I have to get down to business here and do some, maybe not hard labor, like I'm lifting rocks or something, but like some hard stuff that I don't want to deal with. That Jupiter stuff is like, okay, you got to go in there and we're going to do this. It's like an infusion of like, you can do it. It's like a good coach kind of. So that has been happening for you for 2 months about. And Jupiter right now in Pisces is in reverse because it's retrograde as planets do. So great, it's going back, but eventually next week it's going to go so far back that it regresses into Aquarius. So that's a whole other sign, and when it moves into a different sign, it moves into a different house. If you're using whole sign houses, which I do and I recommend. So Jupiter going into Pisces next week. I'll talk about this more next week with the videos I do, but basically it's not exactly Jupiter's favorite place. It's kind of like you going from your home where you have everything at your fingertips to like you going to kind of an okay Airbnb. Like it's not terrible, but it's not like amazing. It's just like, yeah, it works. It has everything I need. I can't really complain. It's good, you know. So that's kind of maybe him downshifting a little, but what is really going to happen, well, I'll come back around to that. We'll circle back around. Right now, the first thing in chronological order, like Wednesday, Thursday, so that's, let's see, I think that's the 21st to, is that the 21st? Hold on. Yeah, 21st, 22nd, you'll probably feel more of this Jupiter opposing Venus energy. So what does that mean? So if Jupiter is abundance and more, and Venus is love, romance, relationships, beauty, how we find pleasure in the world, values, and possibly money, that's really good. So they're not exactly coming together in this like moment of like total conjunction. It's an opposition, so it's a little different, but basically they're energies of expanding relationships or like indulging, extravagance, luxury, or like maybe a feeling of I mean it can be support, you know, more beauty, more Venusian things. Like it could go a little bit south though if you don't keep it in check. So like Venus, Jupiter together, great, but the dark side of that could be like eating too much, or like I bought way too many things, or like I went overboard and I promised too much to this person, or you know, something like that. It's like going overboard in some way, or being inflated to this point where you're like, this is totally unsustainable and we went a little crazy. But I mean, it could be, you know, you don't want to do that. You could wake up in the morning and be passed out on the beach because you went crazy and you're like, let's just have a party all night, and then you wake up in the morning and you miss your job interview or something, which I saw someone do that a long time. It wasn't me, but it could have been me a long time ago. I don't remember ever doing that, but because I don't really drink anymore, but I know that happened to someone. And anyways, just watch out, like be mindful of going overboard those days with something. And so this is happening in the 6th house of health, healing, hard work, but also pets, you know, people who work under you possibly. And then the Venus will be in the 12th house of your inner kind of psyche, the stuff that you have to unravel on your own, your inner stuff in your head that you're like, I can't talk about this. It's not somewhere outward with my relationship or with my job. It's somewhere inward that I warehouse it away. And, you know, it's me, myself, my own weird self-undoings or fears, or why do I have all this stuffed in here? Like it's that world of, you know, the psyche that we all have. And, you know, so the Venus will be there. And I would just say like that, you know, with Virgo and Pisces, because Venus is in Virgo, Jupiter and Pisces, it could almost be a moment of like, you know what, I always am gluten-free and raw vegan and I have no sugar in my diet and blah blah, but you know what, I'm going to just throw it all overboard. I'm going to go crazy and I'm going to just eat this crazy food that I never eat and like maybe pay the price tomorrow. It's like kind of like being, you know, like letting it all go, like letting your hair down and go wild. And that's cool. And, you know, Jupiter should be having this last hurrah because, you know, Jupiter Pisces is not going to be back into Pisces and into that 6th house of yours until right before New Year's Eve. So like December 28th, literally. So this is like a time of Jupiter, Venus coming together and clinking champagne glasses. It's great, party, but like don't go overboard. That's Wednesday, Thursday. And I could see that maybe because it's sixth house, 12th house, possibly mental health or physical health being the outcome of if you do go overboard and you're like, now I have, a stomach ache, or I don't know, did something else or maybe you got really drunk and injured yourself or something like that. I'm just thinking sixth house things. Anyways, so on Friday, full moon Aquarius. What does that mean? Well, this full moon in Aquarius isn't like really anything to write home about. It's the full moon, so it's the culmination of everything from the new moon that we had 2 weeks ago in, I think that was Leo, was it? I don't know. I'm going to edit that out. I think it was. No? Was it Crab? I can't remember now. The hell is wrong with me? Going crazy. So the full moon Friday Aquarius. So what does that mean? That means that the full moon is coming to a point of fullness, a point of culmination, of harvesting, of kind of bringing the energies of the past 2 weeks to a climax of like, okay, here we are, this is what's happening. And the full moon in Aquarius right now isn't really doing that much. It is happening in your fifth house of pleasure, romance, recreation, creativity, possibly children. So that's great. That's fun. And it should maybe be, an enlightening or, kind of culminating moment in that regard. The thing is, it's sitting very close to Saturn. So Saturn isn't exactly Mr. Party. It's more like, hard work to be done, and we've got to figure this out, and there's all this red tape and you can't go forward. It's like the obstruction or the lockdown kind of vibe that we have been dealing with. You've been dealing with that in your fifth house since December, like December 20, I think it was 23rd or something of 2020. That's when Saturn went into that fifth house. Saturn in Aquarius went somewhere in everyone's chart. So don't feel that this is like just you. Saturn is always somewhere for everyone. Okay, so Saturn in that house is kind of sitting there, and the moon is highlighting it and being like, yeah, remember Saturn back here in the fifth? We kind of have to deal with him. And Saturn in your fifth is kind of like, these are the reasons why it's harder to have fun right now. And I've definitely been feeling that, where it's like all your favorite things, yeah, you have to do all this, or getting serious about and putting in the work and the miles to do the responsible thing to create the foundation so you can have more fun in the future, which is what I'm doing. And it's like, it's not like, hey, free ride right now, fun, go. It's more like Saturn. There's these things, you have to deal with them, but then fun can happen, and we have to solidify it and like make this foundation. So the moon is kind of shining a light on, hey, we got to look at this fifth house stuff and figure out what is the next installment here going forward. Because we have had a very little bit of a rough time here for the past, since late June into early July, definitely 4th of July weekend. And then, the early half of July has been that fifth house, Saturn getting kind of annoyed and lit up by Mars in the 11th of something with friends, groups, alliances, something that you belong to, being fired up there. And then Uranus in the 8th, being like, we're shaking everything. This is other people's money, spouse's money. It can be about taxes or other things that other people own, or debts or something like that. But those realms have been really kicked up since late June, and not in a great way, like not in a fun way, especially that late June, early July, that first week in July. That wasn't fun for a lot of people. And then it kind of has mellowed out the past few weeks because we had a Venus Mars conjunction there, and Venus went through there to try to help things. But we're kind of like, okay, all that stuff we went through, the moon is kind of like, yeah, why don't we look at it again? And this time through an emotional lens, and this time through, you know, kind of like a culmination of like, okay, so this is what we have up to now. So what are we doing? You know, and the kind of answer is, well, next week, Jupiter is going to be making his way back into that place. And that's good because Saturn sitting there by himself is kind of like putting a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility in that place. And it's not fun, you know? But Jupiter moving back in can be fun, and Jupiter moving back into that space can be like, I'm moving back in to like give you options. I'm giving you some, you know, let's look at it in a different way. Let's look at this like we can have some more of, you know, these things. We can look at it in a different way and have, you know, a more optimistic or a more positive outlook here, maybe more abundance coming into this area. To give you some kind of breathing room there. And I'm really waiting for that as a Libra rising. So that will be next week, and I'll talk about that next week. But I think that is pretty much what we wanted to talk about here. Jupiter's kind of last hurrah with Venus. Take it easy, don't go crazy. Wednesday, Thursday. Full moon Friday, highlighting the stuff back in the 5th house of pleasure, recreation, sex, romance, children, things that need to be looked at again because they're going to be back up for, you know, a highlight time right now. But Jupiter is moving back in there to give a helping hand. So, that is what I have for Libra rising. This is really long. It's 16 minutes. Okay, so I will be back next week with more, and thank you.